What's up, guys? Tom here for PhilAndTomPlus.com, and we are here doing episode number 9 of the Phil and Tom podcast. And I'm here with Janine.
Hello, Tom.
And I'm here with Phil.
Hi, everybody.
And today we're doing something a little bit different, and that is we actually have a subject to talk about.
Phil gave us homework.
Gave us homework, which I did not appreciate, but while I was manfully putting a barbecue together today, we listened to it. And it was okay. So, Dad, do you want to kick us off? Why did you want us to listen to that? And that'll kick us off. And what is it?
Well, I guess I'm a prolific sort of viewer of stuff. And anyway, so I've been, last week I was looking at stuff like the industry rock star stuff, Kane, Minkus. This week I was studying Matt Lloyd, just Matt Lloyd stuff. And he's, if you don't know who Matt Lloyd is, he's a guy who struggled online from about 2008 to 2011, and since that time he's become an 8-figure earner, and he's only 27 or 28, and he made his first million at 26. So if that doesn't get your attention, then maybe you shouldn't be on the call. But anyway, I call him a bit of a freak of nature, so I've been sort of studying his processes, as I have been doing for the last couple of years. And so I tend to, I'd go on Facebook most nights and I might spend 20 minutes there, and I'm always picking up stuff and, basically filing it, processing it. And so there was this thing that he had, and he was called it, he was over in the Bahamas just a couple of weeks ago, and he put together this 90-day challenge. And the 90-day challenge was all about him doing X amount of push-ups a day. There was physical things, there was also, business things as well. One of the business things that he set himself a task was to get back to doing webinars, and so he set himself a goal of doing 2 webinars a week, which is fairly mean effort. But in the actual process, there was like an hour long, I guess it was a seminar, pretty well, and he was really trying to sort of drill into this idea of what stops people from doing the fundamentals and online. And I guess he's got his viewpoint. I've probably got my own viewpoint, and I thought he'd come up with some interesting ideas on that. So I watched that whole thing, and I took notes as I do with everything, and I thought, what he's talking about here, and largely what he was talking about is, if you've heard it before, forgive us, but trying to set up consequences for making things happen, basically. And at Phil and Tom, we probably do that in some sort of respect because we depend on each other to get things done, basically. So the consequences of not getting your part done affects the next person. But he was talking about consequences of things like, sort of getting out there and, if you don't actually do what you say you're going to do or make something happen, there's consequences of money, you lose money. There's consequences of public humiliation, these sorts of ideas. So I sort of thought that would be an interesting thing to look at in terms of where we're at and where we're going, and because I think it's relevant to anybody who wants to, build a business online. Thoughts?
Thoughts.
I just want to explain it even more, if it wasn't clear. What?
Nothing. I wish you could see their faces.
Anyway, he said essentially, if the story is that he was too comfortable, so he wasn't taking action. He was just going through the motions in his business. And what he did was he started doing this stuff where he would have something that he wanted to do, and usually he would never get it done. So what he did was he set up a consequence so that if he didn't get what he wanted to get done, there would be a consequence, like losing money or public humiliation. For example, he said one of the things he did was he said, I'm going to do this 8-week course. It's going to be a webinar every week, and you got to pay me, I don't know, it was like $100 or something. I forget the price or something like that. And he had to deliver this course, and he sent it out to all his list, and that some people bought, and the consequence of not delivering that would be public humiliation. And of course, he'd have to give him all the money back. And what happened was he did that, and he promised that, he sent it out to his people, and he didn't end up doing any work until the last day. He had like a week to do the first little module of that course, and he didn't do anything. He just procrastinated, did nothing. And then because of the consequence, the public humiliation and the losing of money, it forced him to, stop procrastinating and just get something done. And it took away all perfectionism because he had a deadline. And he said that right up until, a minute before the webinar, he was still putting the final touches on the webinar, the course.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the point of the consequence. If you're trying to do something and you don't usually do it, if there's a consequence that is going to make you feel like crap or uncomfortable, like losing money or public humiliation, that will force you to actually take action on what you're doing in your business, if that makes sense. So that's the concept. So why do you think that it applies to us? Or not why do you think it applies to us, but what are your ideas of us using it?
No, I wasn't even thinking about us using it. I just thought about it. I feel we sort of use it in our own way. Maybe we can use it. There's different levels of that, but I feel we use it as I explained before, because we've set up a team. Basically, we've set up a group of people, and there's 3 of us, maybe 4 of us, eventually. And so with a team, you can get more done. And so would you agree that we depend on each other to get things done?
Yeah, but I don't feel it is. I don't feel it's what he's talking about. I don't feel it's like the consequences thing, and I don't think we need the consequences thing at this point in time where we're at, because we've shifted in the last couple of months. Let's say since July, and we've said let's stop all this get rich quick stuff, whether we're doing that or not. But we've said let's think long term, and since July, the 1st of July, we've been doing daily activity, working on our business. Mainly, 95% of that is traffic. We're doing that. So I don't think we need any consequences because we're doing everything. Although now that I think about it, the consequences part could help with the example that I just gave of him doing the webinar, the courses. What are we doing this week? We're doing a webinar. Speaking of that, I've got to send you the link. We're doing a webinar. We're building some products. So it could be handy there, I guess.
Yeah. I don't want to draw too much into it, but I just think it was a really relevant thing for, especially people who were sort of building the business by themselves, and they haven't, maybe they don't have a plan to build a team, and they're going to do it themselves. So that can be, in some respects, it could be harder. It could be deemed harder when you're just sitting out there by yourself. You don't have a coach. Can you imagine he's talking to people like that? They're pretty new to the game, and so he was sort of putting to them this idea of, what's this thing that stops you from getting things done?
But the other thing is, besides from the consequence part, the other thing that he was also discussing was again coming back to that ability to set a goal, and you have to define the goal.
Well,
you have to be specific about the goal.
Yeah, well, there's a few things with that. First of all, I don't think many people would take that seriously, the goal stuff. I don't know why. It's mindset stuff. It's like mindset stuff. Let's just do the work. That's I could just be speaking crap there, but that's my general feeling. But I also think he said in that webinar, in that presentation, that how many people don't do something because they don't know what to do. And he was implying, and he got people to raise their hands, he was implying that there's not many people who don't take action simply because they don't know what to do. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's completely false. I think most people, especially when they're first getting started, they don't do anything because they have no idea where to start because it's so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming, so they don't know where to start at all. They don't know what to do. They need somebody to tell them what to do.
Yeah,
I think
you're right.
probably the wording could be different. People know what to do, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to direct their energies.
Possibly.
If you show someone how to do a Facebook post, you show somebody how to post a blog, they know how to do it, but they just don't know. They don't know how to expend the energies in the right time management way to do it. So sometimes people don't do what they know how to do because they think it's so simple that okay, there's got to be more to it than that, and they end up doing nothing instead of just doing something, and that something might be just doing a Facebook post.
Well, the thing that there's two points why I think people don't do things, and then I'll bring in what he said that has merit to it. Is number one is they don't know what they're doing. That's the first thing, or they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Because they're so overwhelmed. And the other one is fear. And I've talked about this before. It's not like a fear of sharks where you can see you're scared and you're trembling. It's like it's very subtle. It's very hard to notice. It's one of those things where you're doing something, you're doing what you think you have to be doing, and something stops you. It's like, oh, I can't do this yet because I have to answer this question. I can't do it until I answer this question 100% right. And that's just not true. You just got to push on through.
Yeah,
and it's not easy. Yeah. And the other thing is that I think has merit to what he was saying is the comfort level. He was talking about if you're in a comfortable situation, there's nothing really, and this is the consequence part, if you're in a comfortable situation, there's nothing really pushing you to, I don't know, change your situation as much. Like if you've got those consequences,
I think you've got to define that
you.
word comfortable. I mean, where he was at in his life, he was comfortable as in he'd have a roof over his head and he'd have enough money to eat. But I wouldn't say that's a level of comfort.
No, he the way I heard it, he's comfortable because he knew he was going to survive.
Yeah.
He said knew he was going to survive because he had Centrelink.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And
the rent was cheap, $70 a week, and he was.
Yeah, I've always thought about this point. When you hear successful people, I've always thought about the point of comfort when you're comfortable and stuff, because I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable. I'm living like a king. And then you hear all these successful people, they get up on stage and what do? They tell their sad sack story about, I was homeless and I couldn't feed my kids and I had cancer and I got shot, got a tumour in my brain. I'm just bringing up a point. It's like,
are you is there any successful people out there that don't have a hard luck
I know
story?
there is. Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
Bob Proctor's one.
Well, I remember when I was in the.
But my point is that I think it's a good point about the comfort thing. There's not as much. There's no, like, those people who are on their asses. They have no other option, do they?
No.
They do. They can give up, and they can die, I guess, or they can get up and go. So there's a bit of a push there, if you want to call it that. But when you're comfortable, there's not as much of a push. So there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah, but again, it's also interlinked. It's like when you need a jumper. If you drop a stitch, you know the jump. You can't wear the jumper because you've got a great big hole in the jumper. You've got to have a goal. But the goal, see, if you're comfortable and you say, I'd like to make some money in my own business, but you've got a job that pays all your bills and you're not stressed financially. What incentive do you have to come home from work, unless you hate your job? But again, I'm saying if you're in that comfort zone, if you don't have you can't define a goal to make you actually think, well, when I get home from work, I'm going to read a book, watch a video, do
Well,
a
this
post.
is the thing. This is the thing
whatever.
that we're talking about. If your life sucks and you're on your ass, what other option do you have? You I would imagine, I can't, I've never been in the situation, but I would imagine that you get home from work or whatever and you're tired, but you're so sick of your situation, you just hate it. You just hate it. That there's no other option. There's no
But
other
you
option.
don't
So now this is something I can relate to. You're going to do something. Now I'm a dreamer. I've written it down. I know what it is. I look at it every day. I read it every day. But it's a lot easier just to, when you get tired or something like that, you get distracted by YouTube. It's like, oh, well, I keep going, or will I just watch a bit of TV right now? Why? Why? Because what's going to be here tomorrow? The house isn't going to be taken away. Food's not going to be taken away. That's the comfort issue. So there's two sides to the story. I
think there's multiple angles to that whole process.
Well, I think your point about fear and whatever else is a good point as well.
I think it's a spot on point.
Because I can remember just, when I first started, what's traffic? But when you said, oh, you can do Facebook, and I'm thinking, I have no clue what Facebook is. And then you said, oh, well, you just write a post, Mum. Just write a post, okay?
It's actually a good point.
And I used to go into lathers,
Yeah.
sweat, going, I've got to write something. What am I going to write?
There's an interesting quote from, I don't know where it's from superheroes. I think we can learn a lot from superheroes. But
Superheroes, quotation marks, or superheroes cartoons? Who's
cartoons and stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
I forget, or maybe it was a movie, I can't remember. But it's a good point with what you just brought up, Facebook. And this is a good point, that they're superheroes, so they've got power, so they're outcasts, they're not like anybody else, and the government's trying to hunt them down, this sort of thing. And people, the superheroes are saying, why don't they like us? And somebody says, people are always afraid of what they don't understand. Now that's taken to an extreme and fantastic level, but the same thing when you want to learn something new, or you don't 100% know how to do something, it kind of stops you a little bit. Well, that's it. It's like today when I had to do that package. I've meant to be doing that for 3 weeks, and I'm like, you know what? I don't exactly 100% know how to put something up on eBay. I don't 100% know how to package it. So I procrastinated for 3 weeks.
Definitely, that's a big thing. When you don't know and there's confusion.
Yep.
And it just stalls the process big time.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at if people have emails and they're getting bombarded with offers, or however these offers come through, that can just stall you. It just stalls you big time. I mean, I don't like getting on Facebook. I've tried to get on it once a week, but then I have to spend 2 hours going through all the, there's people who are friending you, there's people that just all posts. So I thought, that kills me. So I just try to do it 20 minutes a night. But you can get confused there. If you don't know what you're doing, you can get delayed, you can get stalled. So imagine emails, or pretty well anything online. We've been through that, and we went through it for years, basically. And it's only until you put effort in, get some little results, educate yourself. I mean, you could sort of say, but weren't we educating ourselves in 2010 and 2011? Yeah, we were. But the weird thing was, if you think about those programs, Carbon Copy Pro, did that change?
What do you mean, did it change?
Well, what we got into, the whole thing, the shit hit the fan. What about Global Resorts Network? Did the shit hit the fan with that? Yeah. What about Adam Holland's GLM? Did the shit hit the fan there? So
it
we
just died.
well, we had three false starts, really, and it was only when we thought you know, and if you go back to those days, we thought we were making progress, and we were, but we still hadn't found the right vehicle, you know, for us. Now, touch wood, I'd like to think we've found a good vehicle, a great vehicle, you know. But don't you think that's an irony? You know, there are people out there who actually think that what they're doing is gonna get them to where they're going. Now that's a subjective argument.
Well, I find it's makes you feel good when you tell that story that we're building a brand.
Oh, that's it.
It makes you feel good because
You are
the
right.
one thing I always think about is how do people get into these systems who have they don't have any experience, they don't have a list, and they start making all this money. And my opinion
I don't
is
know if they don't have a list. I'm not sure about
well,
that.
some people they come in and they get some sales.
Yeah.
How does that happen? They take they take in the pages of that they give you. There's no all they literally do. If we came in now with our knowledge, and we weren't building a list, and we just said we're going to send a solo ad or do a Facebook ad or something to one of those pages, that's a lot easier. It's a lot easier, but you don't own it. So if the company, like you just said, goes kaput, you're screwed.
Well, that's right. Yeah. So, you know, it's only now that, you know, if somebody wants to get started online, it's okay to use, you know, I guess the owners or the affiliates capture pages.
Yeah, because
and to feel your way, but don't think for a minute that you're going to be making $100,000, $10,000 a month from that. You're not. It's not. It's a starting process. It's a place where you can cut your teeth and learn. And if you did that for a year, no worries. You know what I mean? It's not a problem. But what you've got to do is you've got to go from there to have your own capture pages where you're capturing your own leads and you're talking and marketing, you know, to those leads. You know, that would be a second phase. And then the third phase is to have your own brand, as you're saying, a fully fledged brand, your own website, you know, Facebook page, Google Plus page, your own blog, you know, your own videos, all that, like we do.
Yeah.
We're a good example of somebody who has a brand, and our brand is it's a unique brand. It's not a professional brand, you know, people in a suit. It's not a brand. It's a Richard Branson type brand. He's a bit, you know, he's a bit fruity. He's a bit sort of out there, and we've got our brand. It's a bit unique. And that's good news for everybody out there that they can have their own unique brand. They don't have to be professionals in a suit, and so they can be unique and different. I think that's a nice thing.
Yeah, by being themselves.
By being themselves. That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
And there's evidence of that all over, well, just with YouTube. You look at YouTube and all the biggest YouTubers, it's literally them being themselves. Vloggers, they just film their life and be themselves and they make money from it.
And people are fascinated by people, aren't they?
Well, I guess it brings us back to full argument, and it was all about this issue of, you know, taking action and what stops people, you know, from taking action. And so Matt Lloyd put his, you know, stamp or his blueprint on it. And I mean, for me personally, I've never done anything super fast. I'm a chipper, you know. I just chip. Some people maybe can't chip, maybe they can't persevere, you know. But I've been able to. That's something I know I can do. I can chip away at something and get better at it incrementally. What's that saying? What you persist in doing. What's that saying?
What you persist in doing today.
That which we persist in doing
today.
Becomes easier for us to do. Not the
The
nature of the thing
it is
itself
just
changes, but
changing.
it's our ability to
to
do
do
it
it.
increases, a bit like that. And so that's really the reality of life, you know. I mean, there's so many illusions out there. The people who appear or are promoted to, you know, make quick money. The thing you've got to ask yourself is, what are the consequences to that? Does that equal happiness? Does that equal a successful life? How do you know? Because time hasn't run its course. The thing I always like is long-term, sustainable. Okay, let's add to that. Think big. You know, I don't know what you know. Are you interested in making $1 million a year, or does that shut you down? If it shuts you down, okay. Well, what about $500,000 a year? Well, if that shuts you down, what about $250,000 a year? Could you get your head around that? Or if that shuts you down, what about $100,000 a year? And so, you know, mentally, you know, you know, I don't get shut down on that sort of stuff. I don't get shut. I would have once. And so, if you don't get shut down on it and you're open to the possibilities, then it comes down to, you know, finding people you want to get into business with, maybe mentors and stuff like that. And I mean, another big thing is, you know, being prepared to invest. I mean, I think about when we were in network marketing, how much money did we invest a year? $15,000 a year. My God, I still wonder where we found that money. When we got involved in property, we had to invest to get in, you know, we were involved in several property transactions. We had to invest just to get into the deal. A minimum, we had to find $60,000 to $80,000 on each property. So you had to find that money through your structure. And what that meant, you then had to pay interest on that money. The deal could go bad within 2 years and you could lose all your money. That's the risk of that. And so I think, you know, internet marketing, there's some parallels, you know, with that. That, you know, the message to new people there is you don't have a big ticket back end process with a phone team, you know, I'm going to add on a phone team that's working on your behalf. Why do I say that? Because most people don't want to, they're never going to get on the phone, they're not going to make the sales, and they don't have a big ticket product. And so that's critical. That's critical to your whole success. You know, it's just critical. And so, you know, the great thing about Matt Lloyd is he educates you from the start about big thinking. You know, he basically says, look, it's all well and good, whatever you're doing, but, you know, tap, 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 what's the lifetime value of your customer? How much money what's the lifetime value of your customer? Because that determines how much money you can spend on traffic. For us, the system we're in, it's $20,000, thereabouts, just to get started. We can make $20,000 out of a customer. So then you go, well, how much money can you spend on traffic? Does that mean you can spend $20,000 to get a lead? Can you see the point? It's an interesting point. And so he really focuses on these, wherever he's learnt it, you know, these big, I can think of some of the different names that he's picked up. And so that's a big issue, you know, just getting around it, as opposed to if you think about all the stuff that comes through on emails, and man, no wonder it's confusing for most people. But that's something I just not just picked up this week. I have seen him talk about it before, but in a webinar he did this week, he reminded me about that, and it made me excited, because I'm thinking, wow, this guy really got a great business brain. Yeah. Anyway, how are we going?
You can wrap it up there. Anybody got anything to say, Mum?
No.
Okay, I got nothing to say.
Yeah, well, I hope you got something out of that, guys. It's all about taking a step. It's about putting in some action, having some goals. And if you need help doing that, then you certainly should know where you can contact us. We've got a question section on our website, and it's as simple as saying, you know, letting us know who you are and what sort of details and what sort of questions you've got. And we're happy to point you in the right direction, at least. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, that's it. That's great. If you have any comments, put them in the comment section below. That's it.
Okay, have a great night.
See you next week.
Bye.